Hello, everyone. Welcome to HVAC20 Monday Night Live. Um, I'm thinking we're going to go back more and more to our original Monday meeting format, which was where people would get together and talk about their home runs and talk about their strikeouts, and then also talk about things that they became aware of in the last week or so. And tonight, we're going to start with Ronnie. He's going to tell us what's been going on, but then we're going to go to Reedie because he wasn't here last week. And in watching last week's show, he had a couple of helpful small epiphanies. So we're gonna hear a little bit about that too, because the HVAC20 Free Quote Process seems to be evolving pretty quickly. Would that be fair to say, guys?
Yes.
And everybody's sort of the way that gets disseminated is evolving pretty quickly too. So, anyway, Ronnie. Oh, and Tanner might show up, but he went to Florida to hang out with a buddy, and then he's doing that HVAC school thing this weekend. And he rented a Model 3 for the trip. And the first day he had it, he's like, why would anybody get any other car? So it's addictive because now it's me, Ronnie, and Tanner. So anyway, go ahead, Ronnie. What you been up to?
I ran a couple comfort consults last week, 2 of them. One of them, I went back and closed today and did like AC's a bit newer. We installed it actually 2017 or 18, can't remember exactly. They did an addition on the house back then when we did that, and the house went from 700 to 1100 square feet.
Okay.
And we decided to put a 30,000 BTU air conditioner in there
for 1,200 square feet.
For 1,100, yeah.
So it was one of those situations where, oh, well, we had 2-ton before, so we're probably going to need 2.5 now.
It was just like that, and it was the contractor brought us in is what happened originally, and we did like real cheap. It's just a basic AC coil that we did, hooked it to.
They had blown their budget already, probably on the addition.
Yep. Yeah, so that when they did the addition, they did do a few good things. They did wrap the whole house and then put new vinyl over top the house, over that on the outside of the home. The house had asbestos siding on it before.
Okay.
They had to remediate that and wrap it and vinyl it, whatever.
Gotcha.
So they did that. They put R38 in the attic. They kind of did a vapor barrier, what they said was one, but it wasn't real good. The addition area actually was not as leaky as the rest of the house. And
you'll sometimes see that with additions if you're lucky enough to be there before and after, where the house gets tighter after an addition because they cut a hole in a leaky part of the house. And so they're removing a leaky piece and putting on a tight piece.
Yeah. And they upped the AC, kept the furnace. It had a single speed 70 in it.
Okay.
And 80%. And they said that it's been fine. They also mentioned before they had done this addition, occasionally they would get some growth like on the walls and in the closets and the corners, and they don't get none of that anymore, which is strange because the air conditioner is still oversized.
Maybe you installed it better.
Maybe. I don't know. I did notice that the furnace was vented out the sidewall about 6 inches from the ground, which is illegal in Kentucky. I don't know about where you're all at, but
it's an 80%er.
It is an 80%er, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
There's an old vermiculite vent pipe they abandoned under the house. And I'm thinking whoever did the furnace probably didn't price that in. So they just ran B vent over and shot her out the side of the house. No permit was on the furnace from the get go either.
Okay.
So I really wanted to electrify this house because I wanted to get rid of all the flue pipe. And they were not about that. So we didn't do it.
Okay.
They did decide to do a 2-speed 80% gas furnace, a vapor barrier, and we're going to bring that flue pipe up to code by directing it a different route and up and out. So,
Okay.
so doing that would have been, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot more money in it to go ahead and do a heat pump with an air handler. But again, this isn't my.
Offer
I educated
decline.
them. Yeah, and these people are talking about doing solar and stuff later and all this other stuff. That's something they want to do, and I'm
But
like,
they'll have a
You
heat
said
pump
this was a
too,
comfort
right?
consult?
it was. I went back today and went over it with them. So
How often do you do that? Do you go back on all your comfort consults a second
no, I give
time?
them the choice whether to go back or phone call or like a video chat like we're having or whatever. I just give them decision on how they want to go about that. But fortunately, this is like 14 minutes from my house. This house was, so I was just like, I'm just gonna come over and we're gonna go over this since you're all ready to make a decision. The furnace actually stopped working yesterday, so
Oh my gosh. Okay.
they had trouble with it. We kind of pieced it back together to get and anyways, so it just went out completely yesterday. So they said they're ready to do something. So again, we're gonna still.
How long does your
referral
second
system.
visit usually take?
Just depends. It took a couple hours a day because they financed and all that, so I had to go through all that paperwork. But generally, I review everything 30 minutes to an hour, and then show them everything, let them make decisions, and then if we got to do, they decided they wanted to finance it, so I gave them the financing options. We financed it, and I got it scheduled. So.
Cool.
We're going to do it Wednesday as long as we get everything in a timely manner. So
it's the furnace and the heat pump or just the furnace?
just the furnace. We're not replacing the coil in the outdoor unit right now.
Okay.
No.
And the load was
21,000 BTUs, and they have a 30.
okay. And the heat?
31 or 2, something stupid low.
They have 3 ton of ductwork?
They have about 2.25 ton of ductwork. They have plenty of
So a 2
return.
ton with backup heat would have been fine.
It would have been perfect for the duct system they got. Yeah. And it would have been quieter. And that was one of their complaints is the return's loud. It's a central floor return.
But they're wedded to that bad piece of equipment.
Well, it has a warranty on it still. So, I explained to them, I said, I know we installed it. And I said, I'd be happy to work with you and give you a good deal on a new heat pump. So again, they weren't comfortable with making the leap. I don't know what for. I mean, I don't know if it was finances or what. So they seem to be well off to me, but it wasn't a huge house. It's paid for. They don't have any debt. They have a lot of income. So
what was the blower door?
It was 2200 CFM 50. 21 something. I don't remember. It was between 21 and 2200.
Okay.
So about a 2-to-1 house.
And why did they decide to have a comfort consult? What was their score?
The moisture issues is why they decided to do it. Their score was I think it was only 15.
Oh, so low score.
It was low score. They were pretty comfortable other than one bedroom in the front of the home. And that bedroom was like 12 pascals when I tested the house. It was the leakiest room in the house, leakier than there wasn't another room close to it. So,
you have a sense of where the leakage was?
Yeah, it's where the floor connects to the wall. I think they need to have like the floor lifted up and some issue, and then they have some connection to the attic, but it wasn't that bad.
Okay. So maybe take the toe molding off and caulk, and
Yeah,
then put the toe molding back on.
yeah, that would help. But it was a 50s built house, so. And
Yeah.
where the low spots were is where the sump actually is, and all the water is going in that direction under the home, where the leakier room is. So I'm going to say it's probably caused from the moisture issues they've had for 70 years or something.
Okay. And recently you did the free quote course.
Yeah, I went back through it again. Yep.
What
Just as a
was your
refresher.
do you have any observations or thoughts or suggestions for improvement?
I mean, I think you fixed most of what I think y'all were going to move a few things around, but I believe that, I mean, it's pretty solid. I feel like it's pretty solid. I
Okay.
mean, I like some of the stuff better in the free quote than in the comfort consult reporting.
Yeah.
Just because it's visually better for the comfort consult's obviously, good for a techie person, but again, it dumbs it down a little bit, the way I feel like in the free quote.
Okay.
Which I used that today on a job I sold earlier. It wasn't a big job or anything. It was a second opinion. Another company went out and quoted on a furnace. I was more expensive than them, but they went with me. Basically the same furnace, but we're just going to do it a little differently than they were going to do it.
Okay. What do you think was the deciding factor?
Well, they were more comfortable with me. They said I was more professional. I asked a lot of questions. They liked that I asked them, rather than just giving them a furnace quote, like ask them what they wanted to do.
Help them
And
tailor their
yeah, they
best
felt like
specification, ideal specification.
they were involved with the decision. They felt like the other guy was just quoting them a furnace, and he gave them a really high repair quote, just trying to not repair the furnace. Because they
Oh,
needed a furnace. It's 20 years old. They know they need one. They said, we knew we needed one. He didn't need to come and say it was like, I mean, they got one section of vent pipe that's like 24 inches that needs replaced. And they were going
okay.
to charge them $2,000 to put through that section of vent pipe, single wall, 4-inch pipe, and an igniter. They wanted $2,000 to do that.
Whoa.
And they were like,
Wouldn't $600 or $700 do that?
oh yeah, for a big company, $600 or $700. I mean, a mom and pop shop probably do it for like $300, I would think. And the company that went out there was not a big company. They were more of a new construction based company, but
Huh.
they for some reason their truck says specializing in replacements. Like that's how, like, part of their
Oh, like
advertisement
that's
on
a
the
good,
truck.
yeah, okay.
They specialize in replacements, but they mostly just do new construction.
Okay.
That's mostly what they do. So, and they were quoting Carrier equipment. They only gave them one option. I gave them two. They went with the cheaper furnace just because they felt like that was a better fit for what they needed. They didn't have any comfort issues whatsoever. The house is perfectly comfortable. So, I mean, we're taking the same size furnace out and putting the same size furnace back in. So,
Oh, how did they show up on likely load range?
so they're, they have a 70,000 BT furnace. It's obviously too big for the house. I offered them a 45 and a 70, and likely low was like 32,000. I mean, like, it was nothing. It was another 1,100 square foot house. And they were like, well, the other one did fine, so we think we'll just stick with it. And I said, okie dokie. So
Okay.
I didn't argue it. They spent a couple $100 more for the bigger one, and we're
And
gonna do a
and
media
what did they
filter
say
and a
about
few
the static
changes.
pressure video?
Well, they said that nobody had talked about static pressure ever to them.
Okay.
They've had that company that was there out a few different times. 2 years ago, they put an igniter on that furnace, and then they came out again, and they said there was no holes drilled or anything. I mean,
Right.
People they had a wrong filter. They had a ceiling grill with the wrong filter in it, and like blower wheel was disgusting. Coils dirty. I mean, you know what I mean?
You wouldn't have got a good static number anyway.
No. So I showed them, and they said we just want to do the estimate. So I'd offered it for $30. So
Okay.
we just did the estimate, and they were like, well, you're about $1,000 higher than the other company. And I said, okay. And they were like, well, why is that? I said, well, remember you said you had an issue with filtration. We're addressing that issue. Are they doing anything with your filtration? No, they're not. Okay. You'd like to have a nice Wi-Fi thermostat, right? Okay, we're doing that. We're also giving you a Carrier gas furnace with 10-year parts and labor. What was their labor warranty again? Oh, it was 2 years. Okay. And we're gonna.
I think we're cheaper. We sound like we're a lot cheaper.
That's what I said. I think we're doing a whole lot more for not a whole lot more extra money. So
they're like, we agree.
If you'd like to get them back out here and add that stuff to their estimate and see where they're at, I'd say they're probably somewhere close, but you're not going to have the warranty that we're going to give you, and we're a better company. So they're gonna, and I said, remember you saying not having to replace that filter, getting on a ladder, and these aren't tall people. Getting on a ladder, you don't like doing that. You don't like changing it. You have trouble. It's an 18 by 25 filter or something weird. You have trouble finding that. Yeah, I can't even find it on Amazon. That's okay. Well, we're going to put a media filter in here that you can get on Amazon or from us or from Home Depot. And it's a normal size filter. And by the way, the part number will be inside the door. It'll be super easy to find.
Nice.
And we can change it when we're here doing your annual maintenance.
Ronnie,
you don't even have to do it. Yeah, well, I mean, and they were like, we'd be willing to pay more for a filter if we didn't have to worry about it, and you just did it.
Media filters are an easy sell. Usually,
they're super easy. Yeah, especially once a year, and they don't have to fool with it. They just set the thermostat, and they're done.
Yeah, and they're probably buying 3M filters at like $20 a piece and replacing
easily
them every 3 months. It's cheaper for them in the long run.
That's what I explained.
And better, and it'll be easier on the fan, which is probably going to be.
Do you want your new furnace to look like this one? Do you want the fan to look like this in the new furnace? They're like, no, we don't want none of that going on. So, I got in there and took pictures of all that stuff. And the other guy that quoted on the furnace was a service technician, and he didn't show him any of that kind of stuff. And he's a service guy.
Right.
I just went in there with my 9-in-1 Klein multi-driver and just. But
showed them what it looks like.
We're putting that one in tomorrow, so.
Nice.
So this is your last sale of the month, or you're not sure?
I have a call on me tomorrow.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
So where's your number ending up looking like?
I'm at 250 right now.
Okay.
For the month.
Pretty amazing. Congratulations.
I didn't work a couple of days last week, but.
Right, because you're dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Reedie before bedtime.
All right. I had a good month this month. Not a lot of leads, but a lot of sales. I've had, including today, I've had 12 leads this month, and I sold 10 of them. So that was good. I sold 2 of them today. One of them was a mini split, and the other one was one that I went to today on a free quote. He just wanted the same sort of thing. He wanted an air conditioner and a furnace. Likely load. Took his furnace to, I think it was 81,000 BTUs. He had 100,000 BTUs in there. Static pressure was okay. It wasn't great. And so what we ended up doing was showed him the likely load. We said, you really should go with a smaller furnace. And, he didn't want to go too small. He went with 80,000 BTU, which is smaller than what he had. He's 81 years old, so he wants the heat, and he wants it as much as he can get it, and that's the way we left it. That was a good one. The other ones that I sold, I sold 4 greenspeeds. None of this, all of this was on free quote. Every one of these was on free quote.
Okay. No comfort consults.
Yeah, I sold a crossover, something I hardly ever sell. Jason, Cecil, and I have talked about this a lot. Part of the reason why I don't sell them is because they don't dehumidify well. But this was a unique situation. We could downsize, and so there's a much better chance of it dehumidifying. She did downsize. It was like 1,400 square foot house. She had a 2.5 ton heat pump in there. The likely load on it was, I didn't use our calculator. I did cool calc on that one and went tight and loose. And on both of them, it said that she was too big. And so what we did.
What was the range? Do you remember?
It was 18 to 25. 18 to 25. And
On the cool
we put the crossover in 2 tons. It'll go up to 25, and it'll of course it'll go down. Doesn't dehumidify as well. She wasn't interested in the green speed or anything like that. So that's where we got. And I put a couple of 2 stages in. That's I don't remember everything that there is to remember about those, because those were early in the month. And I put a single stage in for a cheap guy. He told me I'm a cheap guy. So I said, all right. And he goes, you don't need to go any further than this one. So I went back there today to look over everything. We had 16 degrees a couple of times, which is below design, and he was satisfied. He was happy with it. So,
happy with it. Okay.
Yeah. So my month, it wasn't 250. It was more like 160. My average, my numbers have changed, but my average sale is around 16 and 16,000, and my revenue per lead is going to be around 11,000. That's pretty doggone good for a free quote.
That's pretty amazing.
And
that's pretty amazing.
Part of what changed my outlook of the free quote was dealing with Jason Cecil. He's sort of he looked at it from a different way than I looked at it. I looked at it sort of as a sales proposal, and I really needed to look at it as a report, which is what it was. So what I've taken some other things
and we've evolved that, not just report, but it's helping you build your
the totality of it.
Yeah. We're trying to help you get to the point where you have your ideal specification.
Right. Because one of the jobs that I got it because she wanted a closet. And, that was her big thing in the specification. People had given her sizes and all that kind of stuff, but she wanted a closet. And so the closet to her meant, should she pay $3,000 more to get the closet, or should she keep the closet held up and not spend $3,000? And she really wanted that closet, so she spent $3,000. And, part of that was because of the questions. Part of that was because, I asked her, what do you really want out of this? And she goes, I'd really like some closet space. That was the question that sold the job.
It's so fun when you get that, like, this is what I want. Like, please give me this thing that's been bothering me, and you can.
Yeah. And so, the smiley, frowny faces, nobody does that. And nobody talks about static pressure. Nobody shows videos. Nobody does anything like that. And that throws
the homeowner, doesn't it?
Throws
them off.
Yeah.
So how are you leading in to get one of the things that some people are reporting back to me is they're having trouble getting the homeowners to look at not just one of the videos, but either of them.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So what I do is I tell them when we're going through it, and I say, what do you know about static pressure? And they say, I don't know. I don't know anything about it. What do you mean? And so I kind of lead in. I tell them a little bit about the blood pressure. And then I say, thing in the heart. And then I say, but you know what? I've got a video that's like a minute and a half. And I said, the guy in there in the video explains it a whole lot better than me. And so the real deal about this is let's just watch this together. And so we watch the video together, and they usually respond like, man, that is a great video. And I'm so thankful no one else has told me about that. And then I say, well, I got one other video I want you to watch, and it's right here after this one. But what I want you to do is I want you to show me how to get into your attic or how to get into your crawl space or something like that. And I said, you show me that. We'll come back here. I'll press play for you, and you sit down and watch it. And then as you're watching it, it's going to take, a few minutes, 4.5 minutes, whatever. I said, you watch this one. This is going to tell you how a HVAC system should work. And I said, what you'll find is it's really kind of like in your car, but it's much, much better. But in your home is not so good, right? And they say, right. So I sit down, watch it. They watch that. I come back after I've done all my stuff. And that's how I get them to watch it. And it's sort of a corny, folksy way to do it, but it works.
What's your closing rate on getting both videos?
I've not had anybody not watch both videos.
Okay. So your process is 100% closing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And
then that, I think, unless somebody can come up with some suggestions to polish any edges off of that, I'm going to call that the winner.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that everybody was sort of doing that sort of thing, and that's why I did it.
Okay.
But I enjoy showing the videos, because when I first thought about showing the videos, I thought to myself, there's no one going to watch these videos. No one cares about that, and no one's going to spend the time. But then after the first one, I just kind of, watched it with them, and I say, and, isn't that great? Isn't that good? Yeah. And then they want to watch the second one. Who wouldn't want to watch the second one after the first one was so good? And, it's after we go through this process and we're telling them we've went and got all the measurements. We've got the load, which, by the way, the likely load range is way, way easier than doing a load, so to speak. But,
and how do you feel about the range of it?
Well, it's like I said today with that man, I did the range on his, and on the heating side, it came up to what he had. And when I went back and followed up with the cool calc load, his cool calc load was 77,000 BTUs, and the top end was like 81,000.
What was the low end?
The low end was 53,000. Okay. And he's got 2,500, 2,600 square foot house.
Okay.
So I feel good about that. And in cooling, the cool calc said 42,000. His was between 24 and 48. And so, I mean, sure, I would have liked him to have gotten a 3-ton heat pump, greenspeed, and we could have put, the heat strips with it and rock and rolled. But the fact of the matter is it gives a little bit of confidence to someone who runs, loads and all that, and has done them with blower doors and without, and seen failures and successes. It gives me a little bit of confidence that I can do the same thing or close to it in about 5 minutes or less.
Right.
So, after doing all that and then getting the report ready and showing them, the report, how I had done it before was I had done it the way the report's laid out. I don't know how to do it another way. So what I do is I just go to the bottom and I show them the optional things first, and then I go up and show them the equipment. And I got that also
that hasn't
from
been
Jason.
switched yet.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it, because if they're really interested in that stuff, it gives them an understanding. If you really want the good stuff outside of the equipment, this is what it's going to take. And so this is what it's going to cost up front, and the equipment is actually going to be sort of the add-on. You have to kind of get them to think a little bit differently about that. But once it's all said and done, you've shown them where they're at on the likely load range. You've shown them where they're at on their static pressure, and then you show them the options, and then you show them the equipment. It is as if you've gone to this place, a great restaurant, where you have your appetizer, your entree, and then you have your dessert, and it's
So
really
they have
like
each
a
course. They get
Yeah,
to have
yeah.
each course sort of and consume it and then move on to the next course.
Yeah, and the best part about this is that out of those 12 leads that I got, I'm looking at my stuff right now. 5 of them were service techs. One of them wanted a humidifier, so I don't know what he was about, but he just wanted a humidifier. And then I had one from a customer referral. The others were people from the internet in the yellow pages. And so approximately half of those leads came from internet yellow pages, and then the one weird guy with the humidifier that said he wanted a piece of equipment too. When you think about that, those are still being closed, and those are kind of the worst leads of all, because everybody and their brother has been out there offering them the
So this is helping
5-ton mic.
close internet leads that before you had really bad luck with.
That's exactly right. It's exactly right. And that makes a huge difference, because especially when you got 12 leads,
Right. You really need to make Ronnie, how many leads did you have?
I'll have to look, but it was a lot. It was like 40 something.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to move up there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ronnie's finally got himself into a good place with his manager and such.
well, he's
Some of them
tearing it
leads
up.
were really bad. Some of
Oh,
them
were
were
they?
really bad. Oh, they were. Yeah, but I mean, they don't know that giving them to me, but
No.
some people are just trying to get the cheapest people in town. They don't care how good we are or whatever. Some of it
Yes.
was also they could get other companies to put stuff in faster than I could. So we were
Wow.
scheduled out like a week when it was 0 out,
Oh, geez.
and I lost a bunch of jobs because I couldn't get them put in quick enough.
Uh-huh.
So they're like, "We'll pay you extra money to put them in." Like,
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
So,
I
yeah, and you pulled some things out of last week's video too, right?
Yeah, I did. The main thing that I pulled out was, and there's been a lot happened since we talked
Yeah,
a few days ago. But the main thing that I pulled out from there was that I got a new bit of confidence in just how I'm going about doing things, and I got a bit of a better mindset in that I can ask, specific targeted questions that, if you have read Sandler, you've done Sandler, you should be doing some of that anyways, but there's points and places when you're talking to people that if you'll just take and listen, you can dig a little deeper, like the closet lady.
the closet lady, right?
Yeah,
You erase the competition
yeah, and
by
so
listening.
something like that. It's just this sort of guiding thing as we're going through this process. And even in a comfort consult, and I'm sure anyone who's ever done one, you'll get into this place where you're asking the questions, and they're going to say, nope, 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 or whatever, and they're not really getting any detail. No matter how hard you pull, there's no detail. But I think this, because when we start out with those 4 questions and just going over them, and then we've already talked to them about other stuff, it gives us in a very short period of time this opportunity to capitalize on something that no one else is. That static pressure is so powerful, and then followed up with the 6 functions of HVAC. I mean, it as
It's a
I
rope
as
a
I
dope.
yeah, as I sat down and I listened to what Jason Cecil had said, and taken into, I had to pull myself back, and I had to put myself back into it from a different way. And so I did real well in comfort consults, and I do real well.
What do you got there,
But
Ronnie?
That's just a list of jobs that installed last week.
Yeah.
but it's because I was able to get a little bit more rooted and grounded in things, and of course, good Lord helps me. It's because of that I've had these particular numbers on this month, and so I'm ecstatic, and I think the rest of the year is going to go this way too.
This is amazing. So, and Jason Cecil he had his first month in something like $12,000 or $13,000 revenue per lead as well. And we're like, oh, that's just too bizarre, right? And now you've gone and done it as also. It's so that I think that says that we're
Yeah,
on
they're
to
better.
something.
They're better than me. So it sounds like.
Yeah, right. Well, if you had fewer leads, you'd probably really lean in. How am I gonna get something out of this? I gotta pay for
Again,
those Teslas.
yeah, well, I mean, I had 101,000 install in the last 3 days, so
Oh, jeez.
should have
Need
a
to
Well,
pretty
get
it's
good
those
just like you
leads,
paycheck.
say.
guys.
It's
Should
just
have a
like you
pretty
say,
good paycheck.
Ronnie. When you get 40 leads, 25% of them is going to be, or more, is going to be just
Yep.
what you said. There might be people trying to get you to go low and feel bad so they can go to someone else and get them to go low, and doing this bidding war junk.
Yep.
So,
I don't do that.
no,
Yeah.
I don't either. And but what I'm saying is that stuff like that could come up very easily, and I wouldn't feel bad about your numbers at all. You were the king of the ring last year, and you've really done stuff that no one else has done. So,
well, I got 2 jobs that are out there. I think I'm going to sell still. One of them is a comfort consult that they added onto their house a lot, and their equipment's actually the right size.
Oh, wow. And are they comfortable?
Well, it's crazy because with half the house not having ductwork and stuff in it, the house is staying 68 degrees, set on 68.
Oh, wow. So it
And
must be tight.
And half the ductwork's not even. It's all
how
spray
big's the
foam.
house and how tight is it?
I think it was like 2,300 square foot, and it was like a 1,500 CFM50 house.
No, okay.
But
so
it's all
fresh
spray
air
foam.
is what they
This
might
is
be.
also a 140-year-old house that somebody had. They drilled and filled when they did the siding and stuff outside,
Okay.
and they actually foamed the walls but there's no ventilation in this house. The problem I'm having, it was a one-legger, and I could not get, the wife is like an anesthesiologist,
Oh.
and she would not give me the time of day. The husband was there doing all of it, and he's like, she's the money. I just got to run it all past her. I said, well, I need to talk to you and her together once I get this report done. I need to go over this. I need to make sure. I really need to ask her these questions too, because just asking you is not, necessarily, she may not have the same answers as you. And he's like, well, she just wants it done right, whatever it's going to take. And I was like, even if that means
That makes you
replacing the
uncomfortable,
system,
doesn't it?
I said, even if that means replacing the system, he's like, absolutely, whatever it takes. And I'm like, I mean, once we see everything that it takes, you may change your tone a little bit, but I gave him budgets that would be just ductwork, and then gave him budgets with multi-speed equipment because really they have a 3-ton. They could try it.
Right. It's working.
It's working, you know. I gave him. I mean, I need to redo the whole duct system though because the way I'm going to have to do it is just going to be. It's not gonna be right if I do it. It's just not. So, and then we need to do ventilation on that house.
So would possibly would it make sense to say, so what I'd like to do is record our meeting today, and then I'm going to send it to your wife so that she can listen to it?
That doesn't sound bad.
Because that way she can be a participant after the fact.
He and I talked for a while though. Like he had a lot to say, and I felt like I had a good connection with him and everything. And everything went really well with him. But I haven't sent them any like proposals yet. I've just sent them the report.
Okay.
And he's read the report. I don't know that his wife has read it yet. And he acts like she wants to do the stuff yesterday. And I'm like, we need to get on this and get this stuff drawn up and scheduled if you're wanting to do it yesterday. Like, because this is not going to be an easy duct job. I mean, we're going to have to cut, through the old roof into the new part of the house. And like, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be expensive no matter what he wants to do. I mean, that's just.
So he's ready to narrow in on the project?
I don't know that because I've messaged him a few times and he's like, my wife's at work, she doesn't get off to such and such time and blah blah blah. I'm like, we need to schedule an appointment. And this is an older guy and he's like, he's just hanging out watching like I don't know what is that, America's Got Talent or something all the time is what he was doing. He ended
Oh jeez.
I had got to this dude's house and he was burning a fire when I got to his house.
Oh, you told me about that one.
And I was like, dude, we're going to have to put this fire out, and he's like, oh, what for, and we actually like took the coals outside and stuff. And like,
oh, jeez, Ronnie.
Like, I was like,
you didn't read the what to expect email.
I said, we're going to have to reschedule. And he was like, oh, no, she won't like that. And I was like, well, we're going to have to take his fire outside then.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do with that job, but it should be. I mean, that should be $12,000 to $36,000 depending on what they do.
Right.
There's a question for Reedie in the comments.
Oh, thank you.
Oh yeah. No, I do not install these things myself. We have installers who do that work for us.
Reedie's a salesman.
Yeah.
Reedie came to us when all we had was a comfort consult, and I think the report was done, right? At that point,
Mm-hmm.
the software, the report was in the software, so we were that far along, but not much further. We've evolved that process a lot.
I
With Reedie's help.
sell and install them.
You what?
I sell and install them.
Yeah, Jason's the only
Jason Trammell sells and installs.
It's another company. I work for a company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jason Cecil also is a salesman. Only Ronnie started as a tech, and now he's a salesman. So most of the people started as technicians. So they have high technical abilities, and most of these guys came in learning the comfort consult. And then what ended up happening is we realized that the comfort consult took a tremendous amount of training and a lot of work and a lot of trial and error. And it had a fairly high failure rate. where people just, it was too much and they'd fail out. So it's too much of a lift. And also Reedie was only selling 30% comfort consults. So the other 70% were free quotes. And we didn't have a free quote process, which meant that he had to do whatever he was doing, shoot from the hip kind of free quote, which is what most people do in the industry. And we still, like, people keep talking about there are sales processes out there in the industry, but I haven't seen any that are actually a process where it's a documented process and you document each step. Ours is not just mindset and tactics. It's documented each step. And by having that repeatable process, you end up being able to responsibly avoid responsibility at the points where the homeowner is informed of their choices and of the associated risk of, like, not doing a thing versus doing a thing. And that way, since they're the ones that are assuming the risk usually anyway, it's more explicit. It can't be like, well, you told me this, or, well, I thought I was going to get this, or, all of that stuff is clear with the process. And so our guys that have been using the comfort consult portion are now learning the free quote portion as it's also evolving. Jason Cecil is the only salesperson not through technical, like HVAC salesperson wasn't ever in service. And this is what we're trying to do now is create a tool that salespeople can use, but also highly technical service people that are moving into sales can also use it. We think that probably most salespeople aren't going to want to learn how to use a blower door, but I think that the people that come into sales from service probably will, because they've had problems that they've been unable to solve in the service side. And using the blower door and doing a comfort consult helps them solve problems that were previously unsolvable for them. But that's only going to probably be, like, Reedie, what do you think, 5 to 10%? Like last month, you had 0 comfort consults out of 11 leads. So
Yeah.
So we think that people probably, Jason Cecil has been doing it 2 months now, and nobody's bought a comfort consult from him. It's all been free quote. So
I feel like bringing the process to the salesperson level so that it takes some of the load off of the technician or a technician salesperson being able to do the things that we would do as like second nature will help.
yeah, it's a process that if a technician were to, if you did want to put a technician into this role,
yeah,
they could very easily do it.
Yeah,
because
they get really good results out of it. Maybe even what I found, maybe even better results than I could get out of a homeowner.
Well, thank you very much, Creator's Journey. Have you done the onboarding course for free quote? I should probably post a link to that in case you haven't.
Hey, Ted, guys, I got to go.
Okay, Reedie.
I'll see you guys later.
See you, Reed.
Thanks.
Thank you, Reedie. Nice to see you.
Yeah, you too.
So Jason Cecil, you were next.
Yeah, what I was going to say to the creator's journey here is that onboarding is brand new. So if it says here you checked it out 2 years ago, I think this is new for like November or December. I don't think there was an onboarding before.
Yeah, there was no free
Like
quote
it is now.
onboarding.
So you
Also,
might want to check it out.
the videos didn't exist.
And it really doesn't take that long to go through that, and I think it's worth the effort to check it out for sure.
It's definitely worth putting your email address in, because that's really all it takes, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Well, so you also have to do the, so you create an account in Kajabi, which is free, and you enter your email address. And then you also create an HVAC20 account, which is also free. And,
Right.
and you have to answer a number of questions in that.
So,
But
yeah,
then
you don't have to buy
pretty-
anything to watch the onboarding, and it's worth checking out to.
yeah.
it's definitely worth the
Understand it.
time to look into it.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
Jason Cecil.
Yeah, for me, this month is. I mean, it's been slow, kind of like with Reedie. I've had about 10 leads for the month. Started off pretty strong, sold a few good jobs, and then it's really just been furnaces ever since. And so ACs were either newer or whatever. I've also seen a lot of package units, and we're not very competitive with package units because we don't have many options. We really just have a single stage and a 2-stage.
That's all everybody's got.
Yeah, it's not. Seems like they used to have an Evolution variable speed, but
I think Bosch is the only one that has a variable capacity package unit for residential applications.
so that's really the ones that I've had trouble getting them to watch the the video, and that's probably part of my. I mean, I get them to watch the static video, but trying to get them to watch the 6 functions video is probably more my fault than anything.
Yeah, I mean,
because I'm not sure how that'll apply with the gas pack.
Well, I mean, it's a pretty big lift because you got to talk them into changing to a split system.
Right.
Which,
and then a lot of times there's not room in the crawl space, or you'd have to put it in the
You'd have to give up a closet.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it really doesn't make sense. And a lot of the reason why we have package units in our areas is because the crawl spaces are so small that there's really not even enough room for the ductwork that it takes. So it may have had a furnace in the coil under there, or just a furnace at one time, and it's been moved to a package unit just for serviceability mainly, because nobody wants to crawl under there because it makes everything more difficult.
Right. And there's also a couple of those where a couple of the package units were rental properties.
Yeah. They're not going to switch.
Yeah. That'd be really tough.
I mean, I've done lots of both. I've switched splits to packages, and I've taken package units to splits. It really depends on the house and what the homeowner's expectations are and what they want. And I mean, it's completely up to them how they want to go about it. But I would definitely offer, if it's possible. I mean, see, that's one thing where you may not have the ability to look at it and say, okay, this one could be easily switched to a split system, and we just put a couple of treated 2x in the hole and block the hole where the duct went through and change it, and vice versa. Nothing in that crawl space is going to get done well because it's just not a very good place to be. It's 30 inches from the ground to the floor joist. It might be a better option to get it out, so put a yard furnace in, and that might be the better option at that point. Which
There was one unit I sold in 20. I think it was the first part of 23, about a year ago, and we converted that one from a gas pack to a split unit, and I actually put in the crossover unit in that one. And she wanted something quieter. She that gas pack was just way too noisy, and the size of the unit, or the size of the house, was small. I mean, we put the smallest unit we could put in there, and the installers hated me because of like what you were just saying with the crawl space so tight. But the homeowner loved it.
Yeah,
the installer still fuss about that job.
well, I probably would too, but I mean, at the same time, it's their house. If they want to do, if they want to do something and the company is willing to do it for X amount of money, then it's their house. Do it.
That's right.
You want to share your numbers for the month? Do you have them done?
Let's see. Yeah, I had them up. Let's see what we got.
You said you had 10 leads?
Yep, 10 leads. Let's see. And I'm right at 79,400 and something for the month. So what is that? 7,900 volume per issue. And the average sales. Let me make sure I got this one here. It's around 12.5. Like I said, I've sold like 3 or 4 just furnace only. One of them is just 2 humidifiers.
Those aren't bad numbers. Those are
pretty
good
nice numbers.
I mean, anybody else would be happy with that.
Right. So I mean, I mean, I'm not complaining. I mean, last year we was about the same, but I sold more duct work, so the installers are enjoying this year better than last year for sure.
Yeah. Duct work is in our area. It needs to be done, but nobody wants to do it.
Right.
So Jason Trammell,
2 or 3.
Yeah.
You and I got the first half of your first free quote debrief done.
Yeah.
And then the thing keeps getting punted.
Yeah. And I mean, most of that has to do with me fixing their broken stuff. If it was still broke, we would have already done it. But I want them to make a good decision. I don't want them to make a knee-jerk reaction. And I'm not a salesman. It really doesn't matter to me whether they do it now or they do it later. Because
Okay,
I mean, it's not like I don't have other things to do, and like, so I want.
So you're letting them chew on it.
Yeah, and they're really chewing on it and asking me a lot of questions about it. And, which is fine. I mean,
so there's some dialogue going on, some good dialogue.
Yeah, I mean, they're emailing me and asking me questions.
Questions. What are some of their choices again?
The husband has like some medical issues where he wants to make sure he can stay warm. So he went about twice as much heat as they need. He wants like a 2-stage 80,000 furnace, which whatever. That's what you want. They're torn between heat pump and air conditioning. I think she wants to go heat pump and just see how it goes, because it's really not that much more of an investment, and it may be that he's kind of shying away from that because he just doesn't see the value in it, which is fine. And I've made it very clear.
More stages of heat is the value. So if he's showing concern about being comfortable in the cold, then the answer is more. This is going to offer you more comfort in the cold, because when it's mild cold, you won't have torch on, torch off.
Yeah, and I've gone through all that with them, and I think they understand that, and they're definitely leaning that way. But they make a good bit of money, so the tax credit thing actually means something to them.
Right.
So they're looking into getting that tax credit, and I've never even really looked into it that much.
That
I
throws
mean,
a whole wrench in too, because this Biden stuff, it switches every day.
yeah. And I mean, I've been to meetings, and my dad's been to meetings about all this stuff over the past year or so, and how it's going to affect stuff. And I've looked into it, and I can't get a straight answer really out of anybody, other than, okay, this might, like, even AHRI is like potentially
Right. Everything
it
is
might
potentially.
qualify. It might qualify. It just depends on what happens tomorrow. So,
Right.
I mean, I'm not going to give them advice either way, but it looks like from like today, I looked it up, and like I have, which is pretty much all brands, they have like a base model. Talking heat pumps, they have like a base model, and then like a couple of mid-tier models, and then higher end, they all have a couple of different models that, whether it's variable capacity, two-stage, single stage, whatever, there's a couple of models in each line. And from what I can see, my mid-tier better option qualifies for this stupid thing, but my higher end stuff doesn't qualify because they had to change the ratings and stuff, so it just doesn't jive with the government number or the HRI number, so it doesn't qualify. So it's stupid. Even though it's a better piece of equipment and it'll do a better job, it doesn't qualify for the thing. But the cheaper option that it'll do, I mean, it's a fine piece of equipment. I mean, nothing wrong with it, but it qualifies, and it's whatever, $4,000 cheaper because it's not as good of a piece of equipment. So trying to explain that to somebody is like, the only way I could do it is say that, I mean, this is what happens when the government meddles and stuff they don't know what they're talking about.
Oh man, I wonder if I have. There is a slide somewhere.
And like I can make my high end model meet the criteria, but I have to use a 5-ton indoor coil on a 3-ton unit, which you know what that does. It makes it not dehumidify worth the crap. So then they need a whole house dehumidifier for it's.
So what makes it do that? Because you have to slow or speed up the airflow?
No, because the coil's bigger, so it runs at a higher temperature to remove or to get the rating. So say the evaporator's 50 degrees versus a 40-degree evaporator. Well, it's not going to remove as much humidity because the dew point, at some point, the dew point's going to meet the temperature of the air running across it, so it's not going to do any dehumidification. So they rated at a point where there's no latent capacity because the dew point of the coil is the same as the dew point of the air or higher. So
the high efficiency coils are usually the oversized coils.
Yeah.
And they don't.
Which, I mean, I'm okay with running a little oversized coil and then adjusting airflow to match it. But when you get up to having a 24-inch wide coil on a 17-inch furnace and you have to move 1,600 CFM across a 3-ton coil, it's only going to do sensible removal. It's not going to do any latent or very little latent. And it's not going to run long because it's got a higher sensible capacity than latent. So then I have to go in there and make the thing run much lower speeds, which is going to reduce the efficiency a whole lot. And just to increase the latent capacity, it's just dumb.
Oh, so frustrating. So this is the way to help people understand.
Yeah.
what they're doing, chasing that $2,000 tax credit.
Yeah.
Because that's the most they're, is it? I mean, I think that's the most they get in any 1 year, right?
I think it's 3,200 per year. But like looking at this stuff, it's like it makes my eyes bleed. I don't even want to. I mean,
Jason
I thought
Cecil, what do you know about your systems and what qualifies?
I mean, it looks like nothing qualifies right now because the
IRA.
IRS hasn't approved it. If you
Well,
look at Carrier's website, they're not.
So the things that did qualify last year don't qualify now?
it's not that
Right.
they don't. I think they're just waiting until people start filing their taxes and seeing actually what they're going to approve and what they're not going to approve. Because I mean, that's the government. It's just
So
it's
messed
bad.
up these
It
days.
is. It's so messed up. Like I don't want to tell somebody that something qualifies and then, which the only thing I have to look at is AHRI directory, which is where all the manufacturers put their equipment matches in, whether computer generated or actually tested, and they're the ones that are going to tell the government whether it qualifies or not. And if I put something in there like a match system, it'll have a column that says yes, it does, or yes, south and north, whatever. If that doesn't tell me, then that's about the highest level of organization that I can, because that's what the manufacturers are rating their stuff for, is for that organization to qualify it. And if they say it is, and then 2 weeks, and then when somebody files their taxes, they run it through their 1040 and or whatever form it is, and they say for whatever reason it doesn't qualify, then so I tell them that I've always told people, just I'll give you the HRI certificate and ask your accountant, because from what I understand, 15.2 SEER 2, some kind of HSPF, I can't remember exactly, but 7.8 HSPF. As long as it meets those 3 criteria, it qualifies for the $2,000 heat pump credit. But like all my matches with my better equipment, not the complete high end, but my better high end equipment is all 7.5 HSPF 2. Now it's like 8.5 HSPF, but they changed it to HSPF 2, so it doesn't qualify unless you use a 5-ton. Unless you use a 5-ton coil with the thing to make it qualify, and then it doesn't remove any humidity, so they need a whole house dehumidifier. Same thing.
The EER number in there too. That's
It's the ear. It's like 10 maybe or 9.
some of
9
those
points.
pretty high. I don't know. There's some confusion
But-
about that.
Well, I mean, so the new equipment that they've started coming out with that meets these criteria. That's why my base model, or not my base model, but my mid-tier model meets the criteria, is because they built the thing to meet that criteria because they knew. But all of the stuff that is actually good and has been tested and been out in the field for a while, and it's actually, they've tuned it to where it works well, it doesn't qualify unless you get the highest, like the variable capacity modulating whole shebang.
So explain that one more time about the bigger coil, higher temp.
It just doesn't remove humidity. I mean,
Right.
whenever
said
you,
has a higher temperature.
Yeah, it's not as cold.
So if you look at this expanded performance of a piece of equipment, if you run more airflow across a coil, it's not going to remove as much humidity. It will get more sensible capacity, but less latent capacity. If you increase the size of the coil, it's going to run warmer, so it'll remove more sensible temperature, which is like numbers temperature, but it won't remove latent temperature very well.
So you talking about an air handler or air conditioner?
Either one. I mean, if you put a 3-ton outdoor unit on a 5-ton air handler or a 5-ton coil,
So,
you're
I mean, if it's a 5-ton coil, got a 3-ton outdoor unit,
mhm.
why wouldn't the airflow be the same as just regular 3-ton?
Well, it can be, but the way it's rated is at a higher airflow. Which
Well, so it's the same airflow across the 3-ton coil as it is across the 5-ton coil. So from a perspective of airflow per surface area, it's
mhm, less,
less.
or it'd be less for
For the bigger coil.
yeah.
And
So it doesn't.
so it doesn't have to be as cold.
And to get those ratings that are the ratings that the equipment manufacturers are trying to attain, you have to either move more air across, because all they don't care about latent capacity, which
They actually do care about it. They don't want energy going to it.
Right.
Because condensing moisture from vapor to water takes a huge amount of energy. 800 something BTUs per pint.
Yeah, I mean, that's why whole house dehumidifiers are pretty inefficient, because they got a small coil that sucks moisture out of the air. They run low airflow, running across a small coil, and then heat it back up with the condenser coil, because that's how you remove moisture. That's why, like back in the day, you'd have a evaporator coil that was very small compared to what we deal with today. I mean, like,
and it'd be just above freezing.
Yeah, I mean, it would suck moisture out like nobody's business. But then once it gets the conditions to a state to where all it has to do is maintain, the sensible capacity and latent kind of evens out. But if it's a humid house and you're doing a hot pull down, that sucker will, I mean, a 3/4 drain line will
piss in like crazy.
Piss in water. And then once it gets the humidity down, then it evens itself out to where it's like whatever, 70% sensible and 30% latent, and it does its job. But like a new high efficiency, or whatever you want to say,
yeah, it'll drive relative humidity up.
Yeah,
by dropping temperature faster than it drops, than it pulls the moisture out.
Yeah, it'll drop the sensible temperature, and the thermostat will say 72, but it's clammy in there because it ain't done hardly any dehumidification. So then you need a whole house ventilating dehumidifier that costs $8,000 and
it's a ton of energy to use.
It's not very efficient, and so we're back where we started.
We've gone 2 steps forward and 5 steps back.
Right.
And now you got an industry out there that's all confused about what an air conditioner is actually going to do, because they're used to air conditioners that actually did do some dehumidification.
Yeah.
And now people are getting all these mold problems, and all these HVAC guys are like, I don't know.
Yep.
What do you want from me? I'm just the AC guy.
Yeah. You had a 3-ton.
It's like, well, my old AC, and like, yeah, well, I couldn't replace your old AC with the same thing because they don't make it.
Yep.
So the smiley faces thing is important, because you could say, do you want the IRA? Because this is where you're going to be. You're going to spend extra money to get some money back from the government. But anytime you ask to be partners with the government, they're going to have you buying shitty stuff.
Yep.
So if you really want good stuff, then you're going to have to buy it yourself. And I'm happy to put in whatever you want. And because I showed you this chart, the decision you make is going to be yours and not mine.
Yep.
Because
I wonder if, like, some of the different style coils work the same way as far as don't dehumidify as well.
I mean,
even if they're the same size or smaller size.
I mean, all the manufacturers
have the CAP coil.
All the manufacturers have expanded performance for all their matches, and you can look at it and see the sensible to latent capacity and the ratio, the sensible heat ratio. And I mean, you can, that's what manual S is for, which is selecting equipment to meet the load calculation that you've done so that it meets
A
the
lot of times they
criteria.
don't have all the coils listed in the product data.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you will, like if you're looking at installation manuals or whatever, but you can usually find what you need. I mean, like right now is a pretty bad time because they're all trying to get with this IRA thing because it's going to be with us for the next 9-10 years. We're going to have to live with it. So everybody's trying to catch up with that. So you might find some older model, some literature with whatever current model air conditioners with older model coils, matches, or what have you. But
Because Carrier's got these new CV coils that they're putting all the matchups on. And
probably because they're bigger and they meet the criteria.
well, they want to use a CAP coil that meets the criteria, but they don't tell you what the performance is. You gotta, I can't
Right.
find it.
Right.
But the CV coil they show, that's the one they show in the book because it has a good performance factor, I guess,
Right.
as far as the latent sensible heat ratio, and but the CAP coil is a much larger coil, like taller or longer, and won't fit a lot of times.
It's, yeah, but they're probably wanting to go to that one because it meets these stupid
It's a higher
regulations.
Yeah, I mean it's a higher SEER,
Right.
so I guess
But it's not better
checks the
equipment.
box.
And I mean, all this stuff is nothing. I mean, we went from 10 SEER to 12 SEER, 12 SEER to 13 SEER, 13 to 14, and now they've changed the wording to make us go from 14 to 15, basically. I mean, in our climate, the minimum is 15 SEER 1.
Mm-hmm.
They just call it 14.3 SEER 2. And
Right.
it's all just, it's really dumb. Like you would be fine. You wouldn't find manufacturer data, but you would be fine putting in a 3-ton unit with a 2-ton coil because the 2-ton coil is the same as the 3-ton coil. You'd probably be
The way it
you'd be
used to be. Right. All the coils
Yeah.
have gotten bigger, so now you put the
They-
smaller coil with a bigger outdoor unit.
I mean,
And you were.
they just get bigger to get better heat transfer, and they're not worried about latent to get these ratings. They're not worried about latent because they have to meet the standards, so they're going to make them bigger where they run higher
It's
coil
gaming
temperature.
the energy efficiency without
Yeah.
regard to home performance.
And then knowing full well that this stuff is going to get installed
Wrong.
and
Terribly.
not even get anywhere close to what the computerized, because I mean most of them they're not even tested, like actually tested. It's just a computer generated number based on the specifications of the coil and the outdoor unit stuff. It's all like,
Have you ever done the
AI.
measure quick where it shows you the SEER?
Yeah.
And I wonder how that compares to what?
Usually it's higher than what I would expect. Sear is. Ear is usually pretty close as long as it's installed well. But I mean, all like sear really depends on the conditions that you're testing at. So, like AHRI rates it at 80 degrees outdoor, 82 degrees indoor temperature. So, not much load. That's when it's and they say that that's because that's a more realistic time or realistic condition than 95 95 and 75 and 95 outdoor, 75 indoor. So SEER is supposed to be based on the seasonal aspect of it, having a varying load over from anywhere from 70 degrees outside to 95 degrees outside. So SEER, I don't put much faith in at all, other than I know that, yeah, it's going to be more efficient when it's cooler outside and less efficient when it's hot outside. But
Right.
EAR really is actually, you know, BTUs per watt. But it's at those conditions. It's at 95 outdoor and 75 indoor. It's actually when it's running at full load. So there's some science. I mean, it is science what the ratings are, but practically it's not very good. That's why they changed it to SEER 2 to make ductwork have ductwork make more of an impact, because they know that, like, they're testing it with no ductwork on it in a
My
lab.
boss, put in the greenspeed heat pump with I think a 5-ton. Yeah, he did the 5-ton air handler with a 3-ton heat pump.
Right.
And he has trouble dehumidifying his house. So I wonder how much of a role that play. I mean, he doesn't want to try the reheat dehumidification, but
I'm surely he's like a tech, or was a tech.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he's adjusted airflow and made sure it's, because I mean, it'll do what you, as long as you can adjust airflow and make it do what it's supposed to, then it'll do what it says it will do in the expanded performance. But if you look at some of these matches, it's like 0.9, 0.95 sensible heat ratio. So like,
yeah, I'll have to look and see what that is. But I mean, I don't know. I think those greenspeeds will even just adjust their own. I mean, they can, because it's all communicating. I don't know, but
right. I'm sure there's, like, I don't know, with my equipment, like there's different, like if you install it in Arizona, then there's a humid climate option for the communicating stuff. And if you install it where I am, then there's or whatever. There's a humid climate.
yeah, you can do it efficiency mode. You can do comfort mode. You can do dehumidification mode.
Yeah.
But I think there one, like dehumidification mode, I think it slowed it down so much that it caused mold at somebody's house one time. So they're scared to death of that.
I mean, it will run that cool pretty cold, so it'll make ductwork sweat if it's not insulated well, and all kinds of stuff like that. So
yeah. So
there's issues.
For the comfort mode will work good, and I think Carrier's made some adjustments too, as far as and set it to where it won't drop below a certain speed because of that issue.
Yep.
Good stuff.
But the IRA is trash. I don't even want to look at it anymore.
I think they create this on purpose to cause confusion when everybody files their taxes, and then to be able to point fingers at each party, whatever, saying blame them.
Yeah, it's just dumb. I mean, like, and I'm sure that they had plenty of guidance, like, what y'all are doing is dumb. Like, I'm sure manufacturers were trying to plead our case, or their case, what have you, that this is just stupid. But I mean, we got to live with it for until 2032, and then by then they'll have it about figured out, and then they'll change it again. So, just like, I mean, what is it, next year they're changing refrigerants to another refrigerant that's not as, or about as good or not as good, and we'll have our own problems with that, and then they'll change it again.
It doesn't seem to be protecting the homeowner at all.
It's not protecting anybody. It's not protecting
making it
the environment.
worse for the homeowner, making it worse for the contractor.
making it
all
worse
under
for
the
the
auspices
environment.
somehow we're saving the planet.
Well, I mean, it might save the planet, but the thing that's going to save the planet is keeping the refrigerant in the coil, making it to where it won't leak after 3, 4, 5 years, and all your charge is gone. Like, it's just dumb, and they know it. It's all about money, so
Right.
it's dumb.
All
But
right, guys.
salesmen are going to go out there and say, "Well, hell, I'll just put a 60 5-ton coil on this 3-ton unit, meet the IRA, and send it to the install crew, and they'll try to fit this big old thing in there and just stick it on the top of the furnace where it's hanging off 4 or 5
Looking
inches
all
on each
crazy,
side."
jaggedy.
Yeah, and it ain't gonna work worth a crap. But who cares? They got their $2,000 credit, and we got our commission, and Bob's your uncle.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm going to stop the feed here.
Yeah.